Hey everyone, Dr. Frunkey here with a great new knife consult. First, I want to say thank you to my good buddy Nico. You can follow him here on YouTube and on Instagram as today'sgrail_tomorrow's beater. Very generous guy with an excellent knife collection. He picked up this We Knives 709 from Mass Drop. Now, they announced this knife, I believe, on Mass Drop, and that's where it was first available. As of today, these knives are widely available at multiple different retailers, so go and check them out. They have a bunch of different trims. He went with the all-black DLC blade and the green G10 handles. And I must say I'm a big fan of this look. It's got a certain military look to it, and I definitely like it. But this is an interesting knife. This represents one of the newer, less expensive offerings from We Knives. This knife comes in at $100. $100. And that's an amazing price, and we'll talk about why. In order to really understand that, we'll break the knife down anatomically. First, we've got a 3.875-inch blade of D2 steel, so it's near as makes no difference a 4-inch knife, and that's a pretty big knife. So I'll bring out a couple of other similar blades here. I've got a ZT Knife 0392, which in and of itself is a rather large blade. 3.5 inches on that one, so you can see what's going on there. I've got, let's see, I've got another 3.5-inch blade going on right here. This is the Tashi Barusha Rowdy High Tech. I've got a Stitch Auto right here from Microtech Knives. Big knife right there. I've got my 3.25-inch Frank Fisher Robert Carter Talon, so much smaller knife going on there. I've got a Hoback MK Ultra, just for a size comparison to make it look silly huge. That's like a 3-inch blade right there. Let's see, I've got a Reich knife 1701. A lot of people don't have all these knives. I've got a strange, eclectic collection of knives going on right now. But this is towards the bigger end of the knife spectrum. It's a fairly large folder. And so you got to know what you're getting yourself into there. I will say it's got a beautifully done blade with a compound grind. Well, sort of, kind of. It's got this large flat grind right here. And then the tip has been rounded off with that secondary grind right there. So you could call it a compound grind. It looks really nice. It reminds me a little bit of the We Knives 606. So We Knives likes to experiment with the tips of their blades. On this one, they've ground the edge out all the way to the sharpened tip, which is really unique on that knife right there. They had that on that unnamed prototype that I showed in a few videos past as well. This one isn't like that. This one is ground most of the way out, and then there's a sharpened bevel at the end of it right there. It's got a nice forward thumb sort of divot right here, so you can choke up on the knife. There's no forward finger choil, but your hand is very comfortable in this position. As they've been doing with a lot of their knives, they sort of integrate their sort of 3-line pattern in with their jimping. The jimping here is so-so. I will say it's not aggressive enough, probably, for the purpose of this knife. You don't get a lot of traction. My finger's sliding on that, and with the glove, it would be even worse. So the jimping is not excellent here, and that's fine, but it's something you need to know if you're thinking about buying this knife. There is a nice sharpening choil, so if you want to sharpen it, you can do that. It is D2 steel. D2 is not a full stainless steel. You can see it written on the flipper tab right there, D2 steel. I would prefer to get it in this sort of outfit right here with the full black DLC coating. DLC will prevent it from rusting and let your knife last longer. You can always sharpen the edge a little bit and take away any rust you see there. This will prolong the life of your D2 steel blade, so I do like that a whole lot. Moving back, we've got We Knives' very smooth ball bearing pivot system, and it's a flipper, of course. It's got a great flipping action. The blade is a bit heavy, so the flip is a little bit slower than some knives. It's not going to be your fastest pocket rocket, but it's got a very satisfying action, and it locks up like a bank vault. Now, it is a liner lock. The liner, it has 2 stainless steel liners on the inside there that are actually milled into the G10 handle scales. You know, I'm thinking paramilitary 2 kind of quality here, where the handle scales are milled out so that the liners sit inside. And it's flush. It looks really nice, and it just shows that extra little bit of attention to detail. The lockup is excellent. I'm trying to catch it on camera, but it's nice and early. It's a strong lockup, so steel liner on steel blade, not something you ever have to worry about. Some people complain about liner locks, but I think that it's more than adequate for what we're going to be using about 99.9% of the time. And the action is extremely, extremely smooth on this. I have nothing to complain about. This is barely broken in right now. I've really only had it a little while, and I'm not going to spend enough time with it to really break it in. But it is a very smooth knife, and I bet after a few weeks of opening and closing, it'll be a guillotine dropping down. And that's the amazing thing about WE knives. At $100, they can offer a knife with better action than a Browse. This is a titanium handle scale. This also has D2 steel, and this thing will set you back more than double the price. If you find it for full retail, it might be 5 times the price or something ridiculous like that. Here's another Browse. It's on ball bearings, but you're never going to shake that thing closed in the right way. Now, there are some other knives. So WE Knives has really been killing it. I'm going to bring out this knife. This is actually a VDK War Admiral. WE Knives is actually building these VDK knives for them at their factory. And just look at the smoothness on this one. I'm just going to turn it up. It just drops shut. Incredible smoothness going on here. Similarly on the 606, very, very wonderful deployment and super smooth closure, even for such a small blade. Very impressed by the way this knife feels in terms of its action. Moving back to the handle, we have these large, lovely slabs of milled G10. I am a big fan of the way that this looks. This reminds me of a canvas micarta type look. It just looks rugged. It's got some texturing to it. Not a whole lot. It's not super grippy, but it's got a little texture to it. It's tactilely very nice, and it just looks beautiful. I think this black on green, this reminds me of a Jeep Willys from back in the day, and it just looks awesome. It's got the gold accents with the hardware. It's just got a very militaristic look to it, and I like it. It looks somewhat like the that CRKT, the home front, I think it's called, where you can take it apart and put it back together. Really nice knife there as well. Reminds me of that color scheme as well. The handles are extremely ergonomic. It's about a 5-inch handle overall, but your fingers rest right where they're supposed to. There's a little bit of jimping on the lock bar right there, so but if I dig into it, I'm not even going to feel it with my naked hand, and with a glove you never would. I don't always like it when they put in a jimped sort of lock bar right there, because it will become uncomfortable for people who use these knives all day, almost like fidget toys. But I will say that it's not totally uncomfortable. The tension is just right, and it could be worse. I've certainly seen worse knives than that. Very comfortable. It's got a nice long back spacer. Presumably that's titanium. I could be wrong. It could be stainless steel or aluminum. Somebody enlighten me on that one. The screws, of course, they've got their WE Knives proprietary screws. That is supposed to be being phased out at the request of the community, and I agree with that. While I am happy that they send the WE tool with the knife, they certainly could do better by not having that in there. And so why don't we go ahead and just show you what comes with the knife. So came in this box right here. Comes with a cloth, a nice travel pouch with some furriness on the inside and some packaging, and of course the tool. So at $100, there is like really no way to complain about this knife at all. So, you know, this is just a knife consult video right now. I'm not going to make a full final diagnosis because I'm not going to use and carry this knife. But I will say that I think just on the merits that I've seen, now I have cut with this knife a little bit. The merits, the materials, the quality and everything, this knife is excellent, especially at $100. There is really not another set of knives out there, folding knives at $100 that are coming in with this kind of quality. I'm not going to lie. You may have seen my video a little while back on one of the other new G10 WE knives as well. I raved about that knife, and this carries on in that tradition. These are excellent, excellent user knives. If you're looking for a knife that you can beat on, that you can use and not feel bad about it, this is definitely it. This is an incredibly well-made knife, and it's starting to become more practical. This is less fantastic like some of their older knives, so very happy to see that practical bend happening right there. So thanks for watching, guys, and thanks again to Nico for sending this knife over. Very excited to see what comes out of this Wii budget line and, of course, their higher-end models. Click like and subscribe to my channel, guys. Go over and check me out on Instagram. And as always, guys, this is Dr. Frunkey saying take care.